Here we go. Okay, here we go. And good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Hawkeye Tuesday session, 8 o'clock to, we'll probably go to about 10:15 today. We may take a break. We may not, depending if we have an opportunity to. And trading the foreign exchange on margin carries a high level of risk and may not be suitable for all investors. The high degree of leverage can work against you as well as for you. Before deciding to invest in foreign exchange, you should carefully consider your investment objective, level of experience, and risk appetite. The possibility exists that you could sustain a loss of some or all of your initial investment, and therefore you should not invest money that you cannot afford to lose. You should be aware of all the risks associated with the foreign exchange trading and seek advice from an independent financial advisor if you have any doubts. This is a live trading room. It's for educational purposes only. No financial advice or recommendations will be provided. Any trades taken during the live session is not a recommendation or suggestion that you should do the same. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Do not trade money you cannot afford to lose. And before trading live, always operate with a written trade plan that identifies rules for entries, exits, targets, and risk management. And now that we have that out of the way, let's go to the charts. And right now I'm looking at the US Swiss. And we're looking for this thing I'm looking at this thing to break down out of the bottom here. And we had a alert at 7 o'clock. I believe it was 7 o'clock. And I drew a couple different wedges here. We had the primary wedge is what we're looking at on the 15-minute. That's the orange one. And we're taking that from a pivot low. I had to redraw this because I ended up changing my screen to a pivot high. It's pretty much right about to here. We have a hit, a hit, a hit, a hit, a hit. And then here's the pivot bottom. I'm going to just flatline this thing across the bottom, and it seems, you can see it came right down to that, and it's retracing a little bit. But this is where we had the wedge alert. I was looking at this one primarily, the small where the yellow one was. So we have the bigger wedge, and then we have the secondary. We've been drawing secondary wedges here a little bit more lately because we'll get these strong moves up. We get the wedge alert. And so right now I'm looking at this zone right in here is where it is right now. As it's spacing in here, if it breaks, we're looking to come all the way over here. Here's where the A is. Put a straight line across that. And that's really where the C will probably end up being. So we have that line to, I'm going to use this as a change of color on this one a little bit. But if you go to a 1 hour chart, you'll see that the move over here it's a strong move up. It's just like a straight shot on 1 hour. And so this is the demand zone right here that I'm looking at for this thing to come down to test. If it breaks here, we could go all the way down to this area, which is the 90.07 area. And the fact this thing has been going, kind of playing with us these last couple of days, it would not surprise me to see this thing break. And if it breaks, we've got a long way down to to this area. So this could be a really sweet move from here to down here. We could be looking at 40 pips or so to the downside if this thing breaks. So that's kind of what we're looking at on that. And let's go to the higher time frame.
Yeah, so I'm looking for a pullback right here. And then if it pulls back, it could be pretty nice. I've actually already got my my trend line set up, and it's actually breaching it already. I had mine in a little bit different angle.
For the which one? This for where the C
US
is?
Swiss, yeah.
Do you have it down lower or did you have it up higher?
I had it up higher.
Like where the C was?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I kept it where the C was, and then it was it's slicing through right now. I'm just waiting for a little bit of a pullback, and then I might swing the bat.
Now we did have a we had a little bit of a drop. Here's a little there's a little doji right in here on this 5-minute candle. And so we had it drop its base and then it dropped right out of that, came up, retested this area, And so we'll see. We'll see if right now if it can break through the bottom. We're getting a little bit of a secondary, another wedge right in this area. So from where this low, where it broke down with the low, come up here, and we'll see if we had this low and we had this high. And you can see there's a little bit of wedge. It broke out, and we'll just see if this thing can. Basically, we're looking to see if it can follow this little trend line. Let me take this off and just draw a trend line off of that.
Excuse me, Al. Ryan asked if you could please show the wedge on the 15.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me get on the expanded. We have a couple of them here. This is the bigger one. This is where this goes back about 3 days to this pivot high to the pivot low. This was back on the 10th, which I believe was last Thursday, I think. And then we had a nice strong trend here. So right now we're looking if it breaks the bottom. I'm just gonna put the C right down here on the.
You're still on a 1 hour chart, Al.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's it's gonna be the same. There we go. Thanks, Ruben. So this is, and then when we had the alert, I drew this. This is a little bit tighter one off that. So we have the big. This is the big move here where the orange trend wedge is, and then we had this. This is where the alert came in, and you can see that once you got the alert, this 15-minute candle where the alert came in, which was at the open of, that was actually the this red candle here actually was actually the bottom of where this was a candle that happened when we got the alert. This blue candle right here was the alert candle. This is the open of this candle is when we got the alert. Came down a little bit, came up, is testing the area right in here. And so it's forming this other small little wedge right in this area. So we got a lot of things going on with this one. So here's going to be the break of the, I can find my C over here. Let me get this back on the 5-minute chart. This is as low as it got right now.
That's the pullback that I was looking for.
Yeah, and here's where the A is. This is the line where where I aligned the pivot of the A. So it's going to have to break through the bottom of this. Once it breaks through where the A is, that's when we're looking at going all the way down south. But it's got to get through. It got through that area first.
Looks like it's getting some real momentum right now. It's moving pretty good. We're going to see something happen in a little bit. I still think it's going to come up a little bit. Maybe tag the 13, and then probably looking for it to come down.
We do have, I said we have this little zone right in here. Here's where our 62 is on our 5-minute chart. Let me bring that down a little bit. Right about to there. This is our little drop, wick over wick here. This was the doji. This is the 5-minute doji. Right off of this. So basically I'm drawing this thing right over that doji. I'm just going to expand this zone because you had a drop, little base, a doji came back, and here's where it broke. You can see where it came up. It couldn't take that out again. So this is still untested. And we're going to see if it can break through the bottom of the C and then head on down. That's kind of what we're looking for here. And we wait. Any other questions? So this could be the trade of the day. This could be possibly be the trade of the week, possibly. Once it breaks through this, see I'm on a 5-minute chart. Once it breaks through We came up and we sort of tested the blue zone on the Fibonacci's. Right now we're coming right in between the blue and the green. But here's the 15-minute demand zone. So this could be where you're going to get the first hit. You may get a little bounce off of the green, the 90-47 area. Again, this is where the A is, this area right here.
Now this is my guess there, Rajiv, about the about Al's entry. He's probably gonna wait until it breaks probably 90.51.
Yeah, right now I'd be looking, I want to see it close below this where the C is right now. So as you can see, like here where I have this purple line, this is basically forming another little wedge. So you have an anchor, you have a hit. We're really kind of waiting to see if we're going to get another hit over here. It may come up a little bit, retest this, and then drop off. Or it may just, or I may be able to use this top of this red candle, which is where this zone is here. Use the top of the red candle, bring it over. That would use that for my anchor. Here's a hit retest. And now we could possibly be following this trend line down as it goes further south.
Al, Rajiv
Yes.
asks, where do you plan to enter on this chart?
Well, actually, well, on this particular chart, I would be looking to enter on a close below the C. Now, I did actually take it short up in here before we even got started today. So I'm actually still in it. I'm actually in it short, but I did it when we came down. We got the alert, came back, pulled up, retested this area, and I tried getting in right about in this area. So right now I'm just looking for this thing to break down and just hang on to it for as long as it'll give it to me.
Yeah, I entered at 9053, so I entered a little bit earlier than the break, but
Yeah, that's right about that's right about where I got in as well.
I feel as though, and it's feeling, but just the overall move of everything seems to be on the downward side. I don't see it coming up too hard.
So we have a lot of downward pressure on our RCS tool. We can see that the Swiss is strong by 5 right here. Dollar is still pretty weak. The Swiss is strong by 2 on the 5-minute, strong by 2 on the 1-minute. This is the key one right here, the 15-minute chart. Swiss is nice spread of 4, now just moved up to 5. So there's a lot of strength of the strength on the Swiss. Swiss is the second currency of the pair. That means if it's strong, it's going to go down. I said it still has to be able to get a close below the sea level here. And actually, you might get a little bit of a trap, could have a trap because you have this A sitting all the way over on the left-hand side. This trend line right here is where the A is, with that target, this little dotted yellow line. So if it breaks, I would like to see it close below the, I'll probably get, well, I'm already in it, so because I get in on this pullback. But if I were to try and take another position, I'd be looking to try and get a break and close below this area. I can see if I can draw it.
So this is the pullback. You'll see another pullback. I think it might make a little bit of a higher high here with that pullback coming up, but still not really concerned at this point unless it breaks the 9056. It's really tight, right? We're playing with like a couple pips. So And that's one of the things with this is you're going to have to take yourself out sometimes. Sometimes the trade doesn't go. But when they do go, you're going to make more dollars per pip than almost anyone else without over leveraging your account. And
On a
without
5-minute, Matt,
Yeah.
that 9056 you talked about is exactly where my hull moving average is.
Your L moving average?
The hull.
Oh, your hull. Oh, yeah.
Let's see. This is on. I could get this on a 1 minute chart here.
Hold on, I gotta get the squirrels out of my garden. They're gonna eat my tomatoes. Hold on.
We don't hear that too much in the trading room.
Yeah, well, the deer already got my tomatoes, so bon appetit.
Yeah, rodents got mine too.
So anyway, right now we're looking to see if we can test this trend line right here off this 1 minute. You can see it's coming up. Here's our 62 on the 1 minute, the white one. Came up, tagged it. Now the question is it going to be able to break? Is that going to hold that? And if it can, that's going to hold the yellow 62, yellow 13 moving average on the 5 minute. And then that could be our trend line to be able to follow it on the way down if it breaks. The fact this one just bounced right off of that, that's a good sign. This is a little bit of we got some rebar here between the 1 minute 62. We have the trend line. We just got a nice little bounce off of that, so that's good. And then if we can get the break, and then we should be able to follow this all the way down to wherever it decides to give it up. We have our 62, 13, and 5 on the 15-minute chart. So right now, all the moving averages are in the correct direction to go short. Our strength meter, our RCS, says it's strong to the short side. Swiss is strong. All of our RCSs are pointing down. And we're going to get a little bit of a hook here, but that's on the 1 minute, so that's to be expected. And all of our whole moving averages are red, except for we have a little bit of a pullback here on the 1 minute. On the green whole moving average on the bottom here is the 1 minute. And so that's just normal fluctuation. We can pretty much just go to our 5-minute chart at this point in time and look and see if we can get that close below into this area. The reason why I picked this was because, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide this over to see where our A is and see if I can find the pivot. See where we have here's the close right there. Let's see where that lies on. So here's the A. Here's the close below the A. Come over here. Spread this out. And this is the zone to enter when it closes. If we get a close into this area, we should be good. And we wait. Any other questions while we're waiting?
Beach Panda wants to know, what do you recommend for a breakfast snack instead of a movie popcorn while we watch and wait?
Oh my goodness. Well, a breakfast snack, that means you have to be eating breakfast.
I told him to
I
get
get,
a PBJ.
I get so tied up with this stuff, I don't even think about eating. I'll be sitting here at 7 o'clock in the morning. Next thing I know, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I go, oh, wow, it's already late.
That's not healthy, Al.
I know. But your mind just gets so tied up to one thing, you just forget about everything else.
Gotta feed the machine.
I always get my glass of orange juice before I sit down in the morning.
All right. I'll give you a pass then. But step it up, would you?
So, and let's see, we did have a U.S. Canadian, U.S. CAD. Let's see if what that's doing here. We had the alert with the U.S. CAD. Here was my bigger wedge, the orange one. Here was the one where we got the alert. This was the wedge that broke when we got the alert, came down, pivot, and now we're looking right now is trading inside this area right in here. It looks like it came up, tested the 62, but right now it's just basing inside this area. The trade would have been on the, when you got the alert, the open of this yellow candle or this red candle right here, the open, this was the open where the alert came in. This was the trade down there. It broke through the bottom, and that was, you would have gotten, I think I did get about 5 pips out of this one earlier this morning.
Al?
Yes.
Sorry. We have Pedro, who he says, hello, everyone. He's new.
Oh,
So he's
hello,
very
Pedro.
excited to learn from us. Welcome, Pedro. He says that he's still having a little bit of trouble on where to start when he's drawing the wedges. So I guess
Okay.
at some point we can show you that, Pedro.
Yeah, basically, Pedro, what we do is we get the alert, and when we get the alert, we put a vertical line where the alert was. And then we start on a 15-minute chart. In fact, let me see if I can just get a new chart here, and I'll kind of show you this. Let me get a duplicate here. US Swiss, I'll just start with this one, brand's clean for you, and I'll take this one right from the get-go. Start with a clean chart. And someone keep an eye on that trade for me while I'm doing this.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
And
monitoring Swiss.
And it was a alert at 7 o'clock, so I draw a yellow line, vertical line. And then I'm looking back to see where my last pivot high and significant pivot low was. Well, if I look to the back here, you can see that as I scroll this up. Now, I usually draw 2 wedges. I draw one bigger wedge, which is off the, so I can get basically I'm looking to see where a significant high and a significant low was, because with when trades are going, it's either trending down, trending up, or going sideways. In this case, if you look at this whole area right in here, from this pivot low to this pivot high, it's really going sideways in this range, but it's trending inside this box. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to reference this move down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a bigger wedge off the more significant low, and it was ascending. So I'm going to start my A down low, going to come up to the pivot high, and then I'm going to tuck it in down here as close as I can before the alert, and then I'm going to bring this one on up. And you can see where I have an anchor. Well, this is basically a trend line. We have an anchor, we have a hit, another hit, the D, and then we got the alert. And so I'm going to be referencing where the alert was. This is my bigger wedge. And I'm going to make that orange. And then I'm going to come down to a lower time frame. And you can see, so here is the low before the wedge, right here where the C was. But when we got the alert, I'm looking at this area right in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a secondary wedge for a pivot high and pivot low with this area.
We got a really big pullback on the Swiss, eh?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with this lower here, this high. I'm going to tuck this in again where I'm looking for where there was a trend up to this point, and then take it to this high up here. And I'll make this a little different color. I'll make this one yellow. And that's how I draw the wedge. So right now we have a trend line here. We have a trend line here. And I can see where, as we look at this pullback, I'm going to be seeing where it had this little drop. It had a little basing here. I'm going to try to take this all the way down to, we had the alert. So actually, we're going to take this thing down to, well, I can't really do it with that because it goes right back to where I want. I'm going to use this as a reference here for this because we got the alert, but this was a little area where it sort of based before the big drop. So this is the area where it actually dropped from for my secondary. And what I can see now is going to possibly happen, it's going to come up and retest this wedge line here. It actually had to break, came down, retested where all the way back here where the A off the orange one is. And right now we're just seeing where it's going to settle in.
Yeah, it could just make a bigger wedge. But this one's going to be descending.
But here is my anchor, here is a hit, here is another hit, and then we had the break. So I'm going to use this one as a secondary, and I'm going to be looking that I don't want to see this thing come up and close above this area right in here.
Yeah, from a price action perspective, if it does that, then it's worth walking away from the trade.
Yeah, maybe heading on up to this area. But right now, the playground that we're looking at is from up here to down here. But it's staying down in the lower part of this. If I draw a Fibonacci retracement line from where the alert was, from the top of where the top wedge was, if I draw from the top of this top wedge to the bottom where it kind of broke, you can see it's hanging in this lower 25% area. And if we can get this break down through, we're looking at coming on down lower. So that's pretty much how we draw the wedges. Does that help answer your question? So back to the chart hand. Now we did have this where we had this. This is where it broke out. So this is a significant area right up here where this top of this red candle. That's the candle that broke. This area hasn't been retested yet. But you can see we have a little bit of a wick. This little blue candle right in here. So this is the area where this strong move down originated. So right now we're looking to see if it comes back up and retest this area. If it tests this area, if it can break through that, then it's probably going to be going up higher and retesting the 62 up here. But right now we have the 5-minute 62 coming right down. So it's still tracking that. It's going to probably give a little bit of a challenge on that, but we should not get a close. We should not get a close above the top of this zone. If we do, then I would be out of this trade.
Yeah, I've been wrong before, but I don't think it's going to close above that box that you drew. I'm still pretty convinced that there's enough downward pressure. You know, the only whole moving average that flipped was the 1 minute, right?
Correct.
Against you, so that's not a big deal. You generally that indicates that it's a pullback.
We are getting the 5-minute to flip over here. We're on the 5-minute. This 5-minute is starting to show some green there. But again, okay. This is the pullback. But I'm still looking that this this 62 on the 5-minute should still hold. It's still pointing down. It's going to come up, retest that. It's just a stronger pullback, is what it is.
Oh, you're on the 5-minute. Yeah, you're right. The 15 never flipped, so that's what it.
Hey, I got a good quick question. I found an indicator, the hull moving averages, that changes color. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure if I set it up correctly.
Well, that's what the hull does. The hull does change colors. That's why we
Yeah,
have the
but
red
I
and
mean,
green.
I have two settings that I can set. It's length and back bars. That I have it on 21 and 2. I'm not sure if that's correct.
I don't use that version of it. What's it called?
HMA trend colors.
Let me go find it.
It's an indicator from RSK Online 49.
Yeah. Not. Yeah, I don't know what that setting does because it's not on any of the versions that I've used in the past. So
Is there another one you could recommend?
yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Uh,
You see how this thing came right up, checked out this area up here, and it had rejected. So this area has been rejected. So again, this is like a 3-wave move up, and we'll see if it can come back down and retest this area. So I'd like to see that rejection off of this zone.
Yep.
We have a hook on our RSIs. They're both pointing down. And on our 15-minute chart, we still have the strength on the Swiss. And now we have the strength on the Swiss on the 1 minute. So that was the pullback. Now the Swiss is regaining its strength on the 1 minute chart. A lot of times I like to see that, where I like to see you get your 3-point spread on the 15. We come up, we see the US on the pullback, the US flops above the Swiss to show the strength on the pullback. But then once the pullback's over, you'll see this thing flip back again, and now you've got all three back on the same alignment. We had the hook, came up here up to the 89, it hooked, and now it's crossed over the 8-period RSI, and now it's all pointing down. And now it's going to come back down and retest this area. Try taking everybody's stops out, try stopping everybody out, took their stops, and now it's coming back into.
There she is.
But we could just get another where it just trends inside this area where it gets lower highs and higher lows.
Yeah, it'll come back up a little bit.
So this is where it's good to kind of go to maybe a little bit higher time frame chart.
That's a big candle on a 5-minute.
This one right here, the red one.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the blue one was pretty big too. But we did have, that was a pretty strong rejection from the bottom part, but now we're just going to see if it can chew away at these buy orders and say, okay, we're basically what we're looking at is there's buy orders down here, there's sell orders up here, and eventually the stack of buy orders is going to either get bigger or expire. And if all the buy orders are used up, this thing's going to come down looking for some more buy orders down below. Right now, the sellers, people come up, the sellers take over control. Down here, the buyers have control. And when the stack of buy orders are all used up, or the stack of sell orders are all used up, that's when it breaks. When they can't find any more buyers, they have to look for some more buyers down lower. And that's where and they'll probably find some more buyers down in this area right in here. There's where our little fib zone is. And if the sellers run out of order, it's going to come up here and take a look at this area.
This is going to look like, this could be a really, really nice trade if it comes back up and challenges that top again. This could be a really nice trade for a short.
Like I say, we've got a little zone here, and we have another little zone right up above it. Sort of like a level on a level, what we call it. We have this area right in here. So right now it's got to get through this whole area before it's going to go up higher. We got sellers here, and we have some more sellers up in here. But I'm just going to make this a supply zone. And if you really look at how many pips between here and here, you're looking at roughly 10 pips. And it's trading between the green zone and the, let's see, on a 2-minute, on our 5-minute.
1 minute supply, actually, yeah. 2 minutes.
We got our 1-minute chart. We're looking at with our fib lines, we're looking at supply zone to, let's see, where is it here? Make sure I'm on the 2-minute here. Yep. So here is our range on our 2-minute chart. Our range is looking at right in this area. Here's the blue zone to the blue zone down here. And we have a little area right in here. Here's the green, here's the red is up where the yellow line is. So this is the top, this is 7 pips between here and here. 7 pips between here and here. And then another 7 pips from here down to here. So if it comes up here, if it gets a nice strong move down, we'd be looking at possibly a nice 21 pip move if you can get in at the top. But I'm not ready. Well, I'm not. If you're not in the trade and you still feel comfortable that it's going to go short, you could maybe try and take a position up in this area. Go back to my 5-minute chart so we don't get too crazy. Keeps the stress level down if you look at a higher time frame. Any other questions on this trade so far? It's 8:38, so at 9 o'clock I would expect to see some movement. Except on a 9 o'clock bar, I would expect to see something happen. This reminds me a little bit of what the Swiss did on Friday, where it just stayed in a certain range and just sat there and just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all morning long.
Yeah, that it did.
It's giving me some deja vu here.
Yeah, I bet you're not liking that. But all right, let's see. That's a big move.
Let's see if it tags at 1562. As long as it doesn't close above that, then I'm going to stay in this thing. I'll give it the room it needs. One thing about usually when you get these bigger moves to the downside, you get the bigger moves against you if you get in. The more it goes sideways, the deeper it's going to go if it breaks. But on the same token, this thing could just go on up and retest the break to the upside. It has that capability as well. It's one reason why a lot of times we wait till we get that break of the bigger wedge that we draw.
I had my secondary wedge a little different than yours. I had it ascending, and it's actually bouncing off that trend line now.
This one right here.
No, I'll post a screenshot in chat.
Let me just take this one off here a little bit here.
And that secondary wedge is the one that I took a winning trade on earlier today.
Okay.
Actually, if we take it from here, here's where the alert was. You take it from this point right here to this one.
That's what I did.
Then you have the,
Yep.
here's the anchor, here's the hit, here's the other one, and then you take it up to the top of this.
That's kind of like mine, yeah. I posted it in the chat. That's what I had.
And right now this is where the 15-minute 62 is right here. So that's respecting that still.
Yep.
And say if we get a close above, where this D level, if we get a close above here, we may just, then I'll be out of this trade. If it just wicks up and comes back, I'll stay in it. But if we get a close above, I'll just close this one out.
Yeah, well, like you said earlier, we still don't have that close above that supply zone. So
No.
that might be good.
It says respecting the 62 on the 15-minute chart. And here's this nice red candle right over here, which is right in alignment. I don't want to see it close above. I'm going to give it up a little bit higher here, just a little bit above it. I don't want to see it close in this blue box right there. I'll keep it and use this red candle. If I get a close above that red candle, we have a problem. But especially have a problem if it breaks and closes above the D. I'm just going to move this up just like that.
Would you say if it breaks above that D, would this trade just be done, or would you be looking at taking it long?
Depends on how much room we have up to the upside here.
All right, that's still within the main wedge.
Let's see if we have the here to here. That's 13 pips. There would be enough room for it to test that area right in there. Would I take a long? I'm not so sure I would. Just because I know that from Friday, this pair, it had some nice strong moves, but never really broke anything until later on in the day. It took several hours, but it just went sideways for hours, and then it broke, and then it would have made a nice little trade. But
All right, here we go. Let's see.
It's just right when you think you start to get to know a specific pair, that's when it will start moving way different.
yeah, I used to like the Swiss. I'm beginning to not like it as much anymore.
Yeah.
No, I took a loss on the Swiss yesterday, and I closed in the slush, which means basically like, I don't know, a couple bucks in the positive. But really, I think it was just like 1 pip or 2 pip or something like that, just to exit the trade. I was just looking for a better entry. I got in the middle, and I'd rather be at the top or the bottom. So here,
So this is a pretty strong pullback.
yeah,
But it's coming in. It's respecting the 62 on the 15.
let's see.
And our moving averages are not quite in alignment on the 5-minute, but this thing could come up and retest this this top of this wedge here. And this could be the trap right in here. This could be the trap.
Let's see. That's a lot of movement. I'll tell you if
I just got stopped out on my position. I just got stopped out. Well, this zone is done. We'll take that off. This zone's done. We'll take that off. Still looking at this, and we're looking at the top of the larger wedge.
it's a much bigger pullback than than we expected.
Yep. Well, that's what it does sometimes.
But you see the top of your trend line up there. I mean, I'd like to see it bounce there. If it bounces off the top of that trend line, I'm taking it short.
I would agree with that.
Because I don't see it going up, but we'll see.
So right now,
it's been acting weird. Not a cop out or nothing, just reality. So I'll let you guys know if I take it short. We'll see what happens. Unless we get another alert.
Yeah, if we get another alert, I may go to a different pair.
Yeah. But I'm trying something out.
Right now, I broke this, so we can take this off. Seeing there's a lot of momentum to the upside.
Oh, damn it. Up yours, Switzerland.
Well, they make good
Oh,
chocolate.
you tell me.
How's our Canadian doing here? Since we had an alert with that, it broke to the top. Here's the trend. Here's the wedge. I said that trade had all the makings of being a good trade. It just didn't work out. Came right up into this little area up here, and we got a little rejection on it.
All right, so I'm experimenting. Just on a smaller account. So
On the Swiss or which one? Which pair?
On the Swiss. I took a sell here. Right where it's at right now.
Let's see, we have under 1 minute here. Like I said, they don't all work out.
Matt, is there a specific reason why you chose at that point to experiment?
Not so much. It's not something that's kind of
Technical,
simple.
nothing technical.
I don't know. It's just gonna. It's different from what we've been kind of learning and doing. So, just trying something.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, don't. It's. I don't know.
Don't read too much into it. It wasn't a technical reason. You're just doing it separate and apart.
Well, yeah, there is technical reasons around it.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at different things.
Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
What he's doing does not follow the Hawkeye strategy, so that's why we're not
getting into that.
Not getting into it, because we don't want to be. If we start getting into some other technicals that we use, all it does is confuse people, and we find out that people start leaving us when we do that. So we're just going to stick pretty much with the basic strategy that we're using, and hopefully we get some confirmation. Some of these other indicators that Matt and I use, we get some double indications that where our strategy overlays with some of these other indicators, it gives us just a little stronger area to a little more confidence that the trade will work out for us. But right now we're looking to see it come up to this area to break. I want to see it close in here. If it comes up here and it can't close, I may be looking at taking it short, but I want to see it get up to this where this trend line is.
Al, Beach Panda asked, on the U.S. Swiss, is consolidating in accumulation, question mark.
A consolidation and accumulate, basically it's probably, terms are probably used one and the same. Because what's happening is the big guys they're accumulating orders to take it long. So, but it's also, I mean, accumulating and consolidating is all pretty much the same thing. Basically, we use the term basing. You come down here, we have a nice strong move down. It came right across. It was basing. Now, when it was basing like that, it had two ways to go. It's either going to go up, which is what it's doing, but with the fact we had such a down move, the plan was it was going to be basing and then break out of the bottom. We never did get that break of this. I mean, we had this C area over here. This is where we had the alert, so we can take the alert right over here. And it did break, but like I said, this is a reason why I draw these larger time frames or draw these larger wedges, because I want to see where the major pivot areas are. Because if this thing could have broken, I mean, we're looking at this thing to break. Actually, if I look at this area here, it makes it a little bit, if we would have had it close below this A area where I have this pivot, if we had to close in this area here, there wasn't anything to stop until it got down here. So, and it came down, we got the alert, it based. And a lot of times you get these basing like this, that's usually when it'll break. It may break, come down, retest the wedge, and then fall down again. This case, it kind of broke this area, but it never really materialized to the downside. So it's got a lot of pressure coming back up, but I'm not going to take it long. If it can break this D area, I'm looking at this pivot right here. If it can break and close inside this area right here, then I'd be apt to take it long. And then if I do take it long, then my first target is going to be over one of these areas. But you see this, you've got each one of these little wicks here is going to be an area it's going to have to get through and close above. So basically from this to over here, this is going to be, if it breaks and closes above into this area, it's going to run into some problems when it gets to the other side of this. Now the question is this zone right here going to be enough to take it long? And I'm not so sure it will be. Let's see what the size of this is from here to here. That's 9 pips. So you could, if it comes and closes, and if you get a good entry, you could probably take it before it breaks. But right now I'm just looking for it to come up, tag this area, and then come back down and retest this. You can see, like right now, we do not have a close. That's on 30 minute. Let me get back to 15 minute. We don't have a 15-minute close, or maybe not even a 5-minute close. And we did get the 5-minute close in there above that.
Hey, Al, I found a way to explain what I was doing. I'll wait a little bit, and then I will share it with you guys.
Okay.
And it's not overly complicated. I'm just using Fibonacci tools, just the basic Fibonacci tool. I did from the bottom of the move to the top of the move, and I was taking the pullback because it was such a significant move. And
which move are you talking about? From the D?
no, the bottom of this recent move. Here, I can share my screen.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Yeah. So this is a little bit where we're adding another layer. We're not taking away from what we're doing. Oh, okay. You'll have to enable.
Oh, I didn't enable it. Okay.
No.
Let me see if I can find out where that is. try something else here. Where'd you go?
While we're waiting for that, Pedro had asked, could you explain the difference between a candle that closes versus a wick? Thanks.
Oh, I can show you. I'll show you right now.
Well,
Hold on.
I'm trying to figure out how to get you to share your screen here. Let me start sharing mine again, see if I can find it again.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my screen shared. I should start with this nice little pullback right here now. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, here we go. Let's see.
I'm probably gonna go long because I made five pips on a short, and I think it's gonna turn around in the next little bit and come back to the top. It's pulled back 50% of the move, so if it sits around 50 to 61.8 and pulls back, it can make a higher high, which is why I would potentially look at getting in long on USD CHF, and I'll explain that as much as I can without kind of overcomplicating things.
I'm trying to see how to get you to be able to share your screen. I'm not finding the little tag on here.
Little button somewhere?
Yeah, I'm looking for the button.
Okay.
And then when I find it, I'll let you know.
Sounds like a plan.
I know it's around here someplace. I think I know I usually see it when I log in, but I'm not seeing it right now. So I guess we're just going to have to pass on that until I can figure that one out.
No worries. I'll send a screenshot maybe.
Yeah, that might work.
Give me a sec. I might enter on a long and see if I can. Like I said, probably not the best way to test something, but in a live session. But if we can start incorporating some kind of Fibonacci retracement into it, just for the people that want a little bit more.
And let's see, 9 o'clock. That's where this all happened on that 9 o'clock. Waiting for that 9 o'clock candle.
Yeah. Coming down more. Watch it tag 61.8. Right now it's about a pip away from a 61.8 retracement from the origination of that last move we had to the top. So if you watch your other screen now, you might see something interesting.
For a short or for a long?
For long. Let's see.
All right, now it's just trading inside this this main wedge that I drew. And right now I'm just going to let this thing go until it decides. If it gets up to the top up here, I'll reconsider taking it short. And if it breaks up here, then I'll consider taking it long. But right now, I'm staying out of it.
Al, could you explain the difference between the candle that closes versus a wick for Pedro?
Oh, okay. The wick basically with the candlesticks, like we're using candlestick charting, and you get this. Let me just spin this out. This blue candle, when it closed blue, it opened up down here at the bottom, and if we have so where it opened is the body of the candle is from where it opened and where it closed. The wicks are basically the highest point or the lowest part it had between the open and the close. And that's, so the wicks are basically, that's all this, on this blue candle, this is the wick is how high it got. There's very little wick on the bottom. So basically this blue candle over here closed, opened up here. This was the open. A lot of times you'll have a little bit of a wick down here, but as soon as it gets to where it opened, it comes up, made a new high, came back, and then it closed. The wick is basically the difference between the, in this case, the close and the high of that candle. And this is the wick would be the difference between the low of the candle and the ultimate low of where the candle was. I'm not seeing a lot of wicks on a lot of these. For example, like this candle right here, this one right in here, this blue candle, it opened down here, it went all the way up here to the high, it came down and closed blue, which means it closed, the fact that the candle is blue, it closed higher than where it opened. But this was the wick is where the all-time high is from where it closed, or the wick is the low from where it opened. So it opened here, it went lower, went all the way up, went higher, and then it closed. And this, the body of the candle is where it opened and closed. But right now, this thing is trading inside this whole region. Now, it did make a new low down here. This is where the alert came in. I'm gonna move this all the way down. That was the low. So right now, I need to see this thing close below this, close below this sea level. I could possibly move this thing into this, where I have, here's the low. The blue candle is the low. But I want to see a close, and I want to see it close below the C. I need to get a blue candle close below the C.
Al, Pedro has a follow-up. He said, thank you for the first answer. And also, now when a wick is formed, does it indicate a movement trend or not necessarily?
Not necessarily. The trend would be where you get several candles that form, like if I get an upward trend, where the candle, we have a closed higher, here's a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low. This blue candle right in here, this little tiny one, that's signifying near the end of the trend. But a trend just means basically you have a series of higher highs and higher lows going to the upside, or lower highs and lower lows going to the downside. That distinguishes your trend. Right now, this thing is trending, but it's going in that box I showed earlier. It's still, the overall price is going sideways inside of a certain range. You will get little trends inside from the higher time frames. You'll see where it trends, but it's really going from the upper part to the lower part, upper part to the lower part. And then eventually when it breaks, then it starts a new trend. And I usually look at the trend being on a higher time frame inside, but right now I'm looking at this thing going sideways in between this range and here. It's trending, but when it gets up here, I'm going to expect it to come back down, and which means basically it's just going sideways inside this box. Once it breaks, then you'll see where it starts a bigger trend, and that's where your bigger moves come in. But right now, we're just trying to stay out of harm's way right now.
Al Pedro says he's got it, and thank you.
Oh, good. What I would suggest you do, Pedro, is go through Daisy Duncan's videos on Forex trading, and I'll give you a lot of that information that, like that. I would go through those videos and learn about, those are some of some real basics, and that's where you get a lot of that information. And she does a really good job of teaching that stuff.
Yeah, she does an amazing job. She does really, really good stuff.
And that's in the Auvoria University section of the Auvoria Prime.
Oh, the squirrel's back. Hold on.
Al?
Yes.
Each Panda is saying now that the time frame / candles have exceeded the duration range of the smaller wedge that was drawn, would you update the smaller inside wedge?
Not at this point. Right now, I'm just looking to see if this thing's going to range between the top and the bottom. As far as I'm concerned, this, well, we had this, well, I don't know if let me see about that. I mean, that's a good question, I guess. Here was the range of this was the range of the smaller wedge that came in. But the problem is that we got the alert, and it was all the way down there. So we would go up here to the pivot high. Here's where we had the alert. Now, I guess the question would be, do we want to use the close of the alert candle, which I call which is that first, in this case, the 5-minute candle. I'm going to have to use that with the low and then put this on the top. But when I do that, you see my trend, is kind of going in the wrong direction. My triangle's going in the wrong direction because it's made that lower low. And I don't like when that happens. So I need to figure out a way of, that's why I'm more apt to use this, because that way it gets my triangle going this direction. We did get the break up here. I don't like redrawing it once I draw it before the alert. I don't like redrawing it. And so I'm going to pretty much stick with anchor. Here's the hit. Here's another hit, and then here's the break. So this is really the break. But it came right down to all the way down from where the bigger trend line is. And it really, from 61 to 51, you actually had 10 pips. If you were able to catch this break, but the problem is you didn't get the alert until after it already broke. But this is really where the break was. And sometimes I think that's what happens sometimes, is the alerts happen after the move's already happened. And by the time you get everything drawn out, you're already at the bottom. Now the question would be is if you could, and you already had the break up here, it's already broken this trend line.
Hey Al, this alert's supposed to be descending, right?
I thought it was ascending.
I don't know. Is it?
Swiss 7 o'clock ascending.
Ascending? Oh, okay. Because I saw a much smaller one, a smaller wedge, but it looked like that could have maybe been the alert, but I don't know. It's weird because right now the official U.S. Swiss is actually doing like a complex correction. it's correcting, and there's no major breakout. So you're looking to really get your butt handed to you. Usually indicates that it's a change in overall direction of the currency pair, but they're not. That's not fun to trade. Definitely not something a person wants to be in there. So looking for it to break to the top, and we'll see if it goes back up where it was supposed to go. Let's see.
Matt, top of the smaller wedge, the yellow one.
I don't know what wedge anymore. I've seen so many.
Okay.
Basically, from where the bottom is right now, like where we are now, there's like a small wedge there on the 1 minute.
This little right here.
Yeah, this little thing, this little consolidation. So it went up, came back 50%, consolidating, and I don't know anymore, but I'm thinking
we're really kind of in no man's land right here.
Yeah, it's a real pain in the butt.
So
that's why I'm experimenting, because other than that, there's really nothing to do until we get another alert. So
we could look at the CAD, I guess. We could look and see where that is. See that? You see where the CAD? Here's our CAD trade. We had the alert. Here's the big wedge, the orange one. We had the alert, came down, had a nice little move down, challenged this. Actually, we were to flatline this from the A, just flatline it right to the bottom. You can see where we got a nice little rundown. Did we have, how many pips did we get on that? If you were able to, again, here's the close. Here's your 5 minute close of where the break was. So you really had this area right in here that you had to be dealing with. But you have had to come, you have gotten, let's see, how far have you gone? About 10 pips. I mean, you could have gotten your 7 pips out of this, but you would have had been right there. From this wedge, from this part right on the inner wedge when we had the alert, you would have to be I would be looking at seeing a close from this area to this area before I could take the trade. Now you have had it right where the alert was, and you could, if you had gotten on this candle right here, you may have been able to catch enough to get 5 pips out of it. But you have had to be right in the middle of this zone to this one. That would have been 9 pips. So you could have gotten your 7 pips or 5 pips out of this move. But once it came down and it retested this area, then it came back into the wedge. And so right now, this from the bigger picture standpoint, this pivot right here was validated. We have an anchor, we have a hit. Now the question is it going to come down here and test this again before it goes up, or is it now going to break? This area from where I have the D, here's where my higher pivot was. Here's my D. So here's the anchor. Here's the hit. And it broke it, but when it broke the trend line, you see this trend line sloping on down. When it broke it, it came up, but it wasn't able to break the high where the D was, where the intermediate hit was. So right now I'm looking to see how many where's the highest red candle that got broken. And I have to say this would be the candle that got broken, but it needs to break the candle, the red candle inside this wedge, which is this one right here, and break the wedge. So here's my zone that I'd be looking at on this Canadian. So here's where the break of the wedge was, but now the question is it going to break this candle right here, the high of that? Do we get a close above that? Because if it doesn't get a close above that, means that this thing is still in control, and it came up, and now it went right back into the wedge, and now it's retesting the bottom of the wedge. This thing could very well break to the downside. Here's our head fake. This is our trap. This is what I call the trap, where it comes up, breaks the wedge, closes above it, but it couldn't close above. This would probably be the nearest. Actually, this candle right here would be the nearest close above. See, I don't like that either. Because here, this is really the area that it needs to be. It needs to be. It needs to be able to break the other pivot before it. Because right now this trend could still. We could actually probably move this. Well, no, I don't like that either. I want to see it close above the wedge, but also close above the previous high, or at least have the range to be able to get to this other area before. That's only 7 pips. But now you do see it's making a higher. Here's a pivot high, higher low, higher high, and a high low. Now, if it comes up and breaks again, it's going to still have to break up in this area before it's going to go significantly higher. And then once that happens, then we'd be looking at this area up in here. And it's not, tell you what, it's 9:22. We can go ahead and take a break, and then maybe I'll stop sharing. Maybe I can find out how to get Matt to be able to share his screen here. So let's take a break, and we will be back.
Okay, see you guys in a bit.
Ta-ta.
Be back for the 9:30 in time for the 9:30 market open. Okay, I'm back. And we have about another 2 minutes or a minute and a half before the market opens, and we'll see what happens when it does.
I have an interesting feeling that the USD CHF might spike up, but we'll
You know,
see how
this
it's
pair has just been, it's been,
been a nightmare.
well, it hasn't played very nice in the sandbox the last couple of days. On Friday and this day, it just goes and just ranges and ranges and ranges. I mean, it's a fairly decent sized range. I mean, it's enough to, I mean, it's like a 20, 21 pip area, but it's just, you almost have to try and catch it in that. You got to try and catch the bottom and try and catch the top, but you never know when it's going to break or if it is going to break. This is still a pretty solid area. I mean, if it breaks, it's still going to go down much lower. But right now, it's find a lot of buyers in that bottom area.
It's so incremental that, you know, like it's like taking little steps that it's hard to get in on.
Look and see where our Fibonacci ranges are here. This should be our 63 pip range, I believe. Yep. And see, it's right in the middle of this whole range. And that's where the problem's been coming in. It's been trading in the middle of this. You can see this, if you look at these fib lines, if this is something to pay attention to. Here's our fib lines. Come over here. And see where that D came right up into the bottom of this. So we're going to make this our supply zone. And then we come over here to the bottom, 25%. We're going to make this our demand zone. And right in here is the middle of the whole thing. And we're going to call this, what do we have? Mid-range. And then we take all this stuff off. And you can see where it's trading. And it's like it comes all the way down here, right into demand, goes all the way up here. So this is where our DC area is. And you can see where it's respecting the D, it's respecting the C area. And it's right now it's playing in the middle where you can get whipsawed pretty bad. This area right here is about 21 pips. This is a 21 pip area. But came down here, basically went up 14 pips and came back down. So anyway, this is where I'm be looking at taking it long down here and taking a short up in this area until it breaks and decides to break through this zone right here. And if you go to our 30-minute chart, here's where the A is. Right in here. This is as low as it got before it. This is where all the buyers started coming in. So this is the area that we have to be careful of. If it comes down in this area, if it goes lower than that, that's when it's going to come all the way down to this area down in here. There's a couple little areas. This area right in here would probably make a difference. I'll make this demand. And that's the way I see this one. So right now I'm not looking at taking anything. If I take it, I'll take it long down here, and I'll have a small stop, and I'll take it short up here with a small stop, and try and catch this move in between. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And we have the markets open. We'll see what anything happening on the US CAD. Nothing there. Nothing much is happening with as the US markets open.
Yeah, the opening was very underwhelming.
Yeah, it's like non-event. A lot of times you get those bigger moves just before the open. Just before the 9 o'clock and then just before the 9:30. A lot of times you'll get those. That's where this one started at 8:10 and pretty much finished up right there at 8:50. That was that move just before the 9 o'clock candle closed. So right now we really don't have a whole lot of anything new to be hanging our hats on. Anybody have any questions? If you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll turn your mic on for you if you have any questions.
Crickets. That's all I hear.
Silence is golden.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping the dollar will completely die out because I'm in an Aussie trade. I need Aussie to go up.
Where'd you get into an Aussie trade?
Well, there wasn't an alert, but I drew a wedge.
Oh, I see.
That's good to hear. You're getting out there and looking for them without the alerts as well.
Well, a couple of months ago, I did search for wedges without AIRIS for 1 month, and then I started to use AIRIS again. And what I did notice is, yeah, with AIRIS is just so much more accurate.
It is, for
Of course.
sure.
But it is nice, of course, if you can find good wedges without an alert or something.
Especially on those slow days when not a lot of alerts come through. But you're right. It's better when they come through. I feel a little more confident myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't trade wedges unless I get an alert. But the alert, on the other hand, just really brings me to the charts and says, "Hey, pay attention. There's something that can potentially that's potentially going to happen and whatnot." But I don't really go out and search for wedges and trade wedges when I don't have an alert. I just find it much more higher probability when we have the a wedge alert as a confirmation.
Even like on this US CAD, I am showing my US CAD screen, am I not?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you're looking at, you actually have a little bit of a head and shoulders over here. But I still think, in fact, this is still a lower time frame of a 5 minute. I'm still looking at this thing could come up and retest this area. Again, this is the same situation as the Swiss. You just sort of have to be a little bit patient while it's in this area. This really, it can go up and down all the way up until it gets to the end before it breaks again.
Happy birthday, Leslie. It's
Yes.
Leslie's birthday today. She says a winning trade would be nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll try and get you one here. I'm going to keep this D over here where where we drew up before the original wedge. We still had here's a high, if you look at the pattern here, here's a low, here's a high, here's a higher low, here's a lower high. If we can get a break above this area right in here with a break, we might have an opportunity to, I want to see it close above this red candle. And this would be the target area up in here.
So Al, I have a question.
Okay.
You want to see it close above the red candle. Is there a reason why you wouldn't want to see it close above the wick of the red candle instead?
Oh, because, well, that's a good question. I like the fact that this was you have this blue range up. Here's the high, and you see where the high and basically, this was where the high was. The blue candle is where the closed. The red candle closed right at the same time, and it closed below that. So basically, I want to see a close above where it was rejected. This is the wicks, but as long as I get a higher close, then that would give me.
So it's progressing then upward.
So it's progressing, yeah. So right now it's not progressing. It's still. If you look down at the bottom part here. The blue, I want to say it closed below the blue candles, closed below the wedge.
Mm-hmm.
Because what it's doing is it's breaking by closing the blue candle. This is where it was rejected the last time.
Okay.
This is where the buyers came in. The sellers couldn't take it any lower. The buyers came in. So buyers couldn't take it any higher. The sellers came in. So once this got broken, it took on up again. So
Okay.
if you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it's not necessary to close above the wick simply because it's closing above the previous candle shows that it's progressing in the trend that you're wanting it to go.
Right, the body's making that new high or that new low.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. And you see, like right here, it came up to the trend. I mean, this again, the same thing. It came right on up here, couldn't close above. So right now, if it comes up again, I want to see it close above this candle.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
Close above the candle and close above the wick. And you can see now the wick over here is, I mean, here's where it broke. This is where it was rejected. So if it comes back down and comes up, breaks the wedge, and can close above the wedge, I want to say it's close above the wedge and close above, make a new, because right now, here's the body's high, here's the lower body high, the blue candles. And it wasn't able to close above that. Notice it did not make a new high. It wasn't able to breach that. So you'd actually be looking at, this is the zone I'd be looking at. If it can break the red candle, break the wedge, then I'd be looking at it would have to close above the top of this box before I was saying it's starting to start trending. Until then, it's still going sideways.
Okay.
And it's making a lower high, higher low, lower high. Now, I can't say it's going to make a lower low until it makes another, well, as long as we get this pushed back up, but still, it's still forming its own little wedge in here. But once it breaks, I mean, this is a nice little pull back down, but it's a head fake. But once we can get that close above, then we're good. The body of this blue candle is still in control.
Slow alert day for a Tuesday, isn't it?
Yeah, let's start off pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
Al, had you checked out the ascending wedge at the 4:45 a.m. USD JPY today prior to us coming on?
I did not even look at that one. 445. We could take a look at it while we're waiting for something else here. Just see how this thing did. Ascending 445 US yen. Let me go and get that one on here.
Just figured why we're sitting here.
There's no reason not to. It's still Swiss. Let me put the US yen on here. And we'll go and take a look at this. We'll put it on a 15-minute chart, take all of our and it was at 445.
Yeah, that one kind of took off as soon as we got the alert.
I've been seeing that happening a lot here lately, that we get the alerts and then it makes a so again, here I'm looking at, here's a major move down. So there's a lot of, this is where this move started. So I'm going to take it from up here, I'm going down here, and here's where it sort of started going sideways. So this was the range that I would have been looking in. So I'm going to draw, that would be my major wedge, the big wedge from here to here. I'm going to tuck it into as close as I can to the top and see where this takes us. And I'm going to look for an area where I can get an anchor, a hit. There was a hit violated a little bit. Usually within about 2 pips, I'm good if it's within 2 pips. That's 61 to, yeah, that's like less than 2 pips. So I'll accept that. I could just take it on down here like this. Here is the alert. And you can see that we had this nice little trend going on up. And this is really where, this was the high candle. Let me just let's do a replay on this. So I would be drawing the wedge. I'd be trying to tuck this in.
It was an ascending though.
Oh, it was ace.
Ascending, yeah.
Oh, I got this backwards, don't I? Okay, let me draw this back differently then. My A down here. I'm not sure it makes that much difference in these bigger ones.
No, but at least it's consistent.
Yeah, stay consistent is right. Here's our C. And I'm going to tuck this in as close as I can before the alert, which is right there. So here's my orange wedge. There's my higher time frame wedge. Come to a 5-minute chart. And I'm going to tweak this a little bit. I'm going to bring this on down here. Still tuck this one in at the top. And you can see where we have the, actually I'm going to type, and so now I'm going to be looking at this little move up here to try and catch it before it broke. So here's where my secondary wedge is. You can see how the angle sort of switched over here. So I'm taking from here to here.
God bless you, have sneezed.
Excuse me. I'm glad that.
You okay, Al?
I was going to ask the same thing. You should quit smoking, Al.
Yeah, I wish I had that as an excuse there. Okay, so here's the secondary wedge here. So we're going to make this one yellow. Take it to a 1-minute chart and see if we can tweak it even a little bit more. So here's my A. Here's a hit, and here's the other one. And here's where the alert came in. Move everything over as tight as I can. So now if it breaks the bottom of this and closes, I'm looking at this candle right here. And I want to see where the, so I want to see it close. As you see, this thing's sloping up. I want to see how this thing would go from here, pretty much. I want to see it close below the C, basically is what I want to do. We have another hit over here, so we use this as our range. That if it closes below the C, do we have room to get to the bottom of this one? Because that's where this pivot is, or to the bottom where the main wedge is. And we can measure this out. So we can get a entry, say, in here to, that gives us our 7-8 pips. So there's enough room if this thing breaks. If we can get in at a good fill, we have this for our test or for our target. So let's go and see where this thing goes. I'm on a 1 minute chart. Goes up is retesting the top. Hasn't broken, but here's where we got the alert.
Al, just so you know, the US Swiss is going up and up and up and up.
Ooh, yep, it's going to retest the top of this. It's going to retest the top of that. Keep an eye on that while I do this demonstration here.
Yeah.
Where's my?
Thanks, Ava.
And so here it is. We're still running it. We're still click. Now we had a little bit of a break here, but we didn't have much of a close on above that. This is where a lot of times you get these little head fakes too. And we'll see what our RCS tool says. It says that the dollar is strong, but not by a lot. See where our Fib tool is. See where we are Fibonacci wise. Put this on a 2 minute. See if we have a 2 minute range there.
Ooh, I like seeing what I see.
Which one are you looking at, Matt? Are you looking at the yen or the Swiss?
The Swiss.
Yeah, the Swiss.
Let's go over to the Swiss. Let's go over to the Swiss so we don't.
I will explain what I saw and where my target's going to be. Oh,
And the cat is starting to take off again as well. Let's see if this thing. Okay, what we're looking at right now, we're looking at it coming up into the supply zone. Let's see if it's going to break through the top or if it's going to.
I'm gonna have to go, you guys. I have an appointment. I have to leave in 20 minutes or so.
Okay, Ruben.
They'll have to shower. So I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Okay, thanks for your help, Ruben.
No problem.
Thanks,
Welcome.
See you
Bye.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're back on the Swiss chart while this thing's doing. See if there's a reason to take this thing short or take it, look for a breakout to the top side. But I'm looking at more taking it short because we have this supply zone that we drew out earlier. So I want to see it come up. If it can come up, wick, and not hold inside this zone, then I'll be have to take it short and see if how much room we have to the upside. Or at least wait for a reason to take it short on the. Frankly, I like it more for a short than I do for a long because of the supply zone up in here.
yeah, I'm not letting it stay to the supply zone. So I will tell you when I exit it, and then I'll explain my trade as much as I can. It might be a little bit more advanced, and it might, but I'll take that risk because I'll try to explain the logic behind it.
So you're looking to get, you're long, you're looking to get out up there, or you're looking to take it long
Yeah,
up there?
I'm long. I've got my entry was at 90.64.
Okay, that's right around this area right in here.
Yeah.
This is right at the bottom of where this middle range was. And we had a little bit of a move consolidation. So right now it's at the top of the mid range, it's at the top of the wedge. So right now we're looking at possibly this, and you see where these RSIs are, they're all the way up here at the top. And let's see what it looks like on the other time frames. Dollar is strong by 4, but that's because it's coming up here to the supply zone. And this is getting to the extreme, and if you get a little hook, that would be a good reason to maybe take it short.
Yeah, I'm not getting out yet. I am waiting for one more move up, and then I will exit. Probably the top of your wedge. What was it, 90.6, 90.82? 81?
Is there a fib line? 90.89 is a fib line.
Oh,
90.82,
yeah,
yep, there's a fib line.
Too high for me.
90.82 is a fib line.
Yeah. Well, that's 10 pips. 12. 11. Anyway.
When you get these strong moves up like this, usually that's a strong move up into the supply zone, and then it comes back down again. If you have a strong move leaving it and have a strong move going into it, those are usually the areas where you want to be taking your trades.
What do you think you're doing?
You want this? You want what?
And right now it's coming down, retesting the 1 minute 13. Let's see where it is on the higher time frames.
Let's see if it's going to push higher.
I can see where it may get a bounce off of this 62 on the 1 minute.
Yeah, I'm finding the difference between LCMFX and Awanda. That LCMFX just seems to be significantly. I mean, one or a half pip more accurate. It's probably because of the spread. So it does cause some challenges when you're charting. Hey.
I'm looking at a bounce. I'm looking at a bounce off of this area right in here, the 62 and the green fib line. If you took it short up in here.
And this is why you don't hold on to a trade too long.
Yep.
I held on, so I should have bailed when it felt nice, but we'll see. This is let me see how big of a pullback that was from the origination of that move. That was
Looks like about 7 pips. I'm going to say about 7 pips.
Yeah, it's like 61.8. So she's a little bit deeper than 61.8.
No, I'm looking. No, I would not be getting into anything. I was either wait for it to come back up, maybe take it short again, or wait for it to come down and take it long.
Just a lower risk trade anyway. It's only $2 per pip, so. All right, back up 5 pips. I've been wrong so many times in the last couple of days. It could make a higher high here, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think many of us have. I think it's just the nature of the way the dollar's
Were you
being.
able to?
Right now, I'm seeing it.
Were you able
the,
to find out about the sharing of the screens? Did that work?
Oh, I haven't figured that one out yet. I think I may have to do it when I first start up, but I couldn't find the button to make it happen.
Oh, okay.
Should be in settings, Al, I think.
Well, let's see. I see a share computer sounds.
8 pips, so pretty good. Let's see a higher high.
let's see something, Matt. If I can make you host or make you co-host, if I can do that. Make you co-host. Now you may be able to share your. Now see if you can share your screen. See if you can share your screen now. I'm going to stop sharing it now. See if you can share it. There you go. That was it. So you only have about 10 more minutes, so.
Okay, unmuted. I don't have my headset, so it's a little bit challenging sometimes. So a lot of stuff going on. I'll try to explain it. Here's a wedge. I was thinking that it was going to go down. I was thinking it was going to break to the downside. It didn't. So I waited for it to run all the way up and started to pull back. There was a wedge here that I saw, so I took it from the top of the wedge and I took a sell, knowing that it's going to retrace an amount. Generally, when you have a strong move up, you're going to get a 50 to 61.8 retracement, and it could continue up. Or it could go down. So actually, realize trend lines are your best friend. That's pretty cool. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's a great spot. That would have been a nice trade. That would have been, you could have got maybe 5 pips, but anyway, so here's my sell entry. I exited down here on this second red candle. So I made about 5 pips after paying the dealer. And then how I found out where it could go is I took this tool here, my Fibonacci retracement tool. I went here and then I started at the bottom of that move to the top. Okay, so basically I want 100% retracement, 0 at the top. So now when I come down, I'm looking for anything in this zone, 50 to 61.8. See how it popped out of the bottom a little bit more. Let's get rid of that because that's not important. And I didn't like this one or this one. So, and now I took a buy here. This buy, probably not a great idea. It didn't really do anything. Up here was where it finally started moving. So I'm trying to find a way where we could get into these moves by having it break the trend. You see where it comes out, it pops out, and then you have another little wedge here. Now we're going to have another little wedge up here. In some way, shape, or form. Hold on, little guys are fighting.
Now the question is, it's going to break out of the top and retest that higher high where your cursor
like
is,
here.
or is it going to break out? Well, you have a higher high from where your arrow is to that last.
Yeah, right here.
So that's a higher high. You have a higher low from that down move.
Yeah.
To there. And now you have a wedge, which is right in the middle between that higher high and the higher low. So right now you're back inside another box, so to speak, where it has to break out of the top of that in order to, but it's going to be looking right up into the top of the, where the wedge is.
Where are you? Oh, okay. Still not muted, so that's good. Keep on forgetting if I'm muted or not, but yeah, so you're looking at a box up here, and then you're looking at another box either down here. There's been a lot of struggle there, and then you got this little zone down here. But up here, you got literally nothing. You got nothing up here.
And that's the top of your wedge, the white line. Of the main wedge, what you drew earlier, or trend line.
Yeah. So this was from over here. Hold on, I got the little guy. He's crying. See, I got this one, that one here, here, and then it failed to hit here. So I'm thinking it might come up and tag this. But like I said, who knows?
There are some movements you can catch inside these bigger areas, but it's best to try and wait till it gets to the extreme before you take it short or take it long. Like I said, right now, being in the inside of the wedge, there are moves to be had because it's a fairly decent sized wedge. It's from top to bottom of the main wedge is about 21 or 41 pips, I think, is what it's getting smaller as it moves to the. As it moves, it's getting smaller and smaller. But right now, we're looking at top to bottom. We're looking at about 30 pips. So you're going to try and catch the. Now the question is it going to break out of the top and hit that supply zone that we drew earlier, or is it going and then turn around to give us another run to the downside, or is it eventually going to break into that higher zone, which is above where the top of your wedge is?
Yeah, I just walked away with 10 pips and I closed the trade. It's just taking too long to get there. I was thinking it was going to break through, but when I saw this candle here, I said, well, listen, I'm satisfied with the 10 pips. I'm not going to – I already made 5 pips on this move, and then I'll take the 10 pips on this move. I don't think I got in right here. I think I got more realistically here and probably here. So for me, that's really good. But I got to deal with the little guy, so I'll let you take control.
Okay. All right, we're just about done here. We have about another 4 minutes. Anybody have any? Let me see. Stop sharing. And we're going to take control over here. And anybody, we have about 4 or 5 more minutes left on this session. Anybody have any questions, comments? Sorry we didn't make a little money today. It looks like it was more of a struggle than anything. But those days happen. That's part of trading.
Oh, wow. Don't you know it, eh? I closed the trade, and there she goes.
I am looking at this thing to come up and hit that supply zone again and maybe take another shot at going. If it comes up, wicks above, and doesn't close above and gives us a reason over here, if we get some consolidation of the moving averages consolidating, then it may be worth taking it short. I wouldn't take it short until we get the consolidation of the 1 minute moving averages.
Man, oh man, look at that thing go. Right up there where that trend line was.
Let's see how it does on this. There's a break and close. Let's go to a 5 minute chart and see where, I'm going to see a 5 minute close. I'd like to see at least a 5 minute close above that. But keep in mind the bottom of this supply zone is pretty much over here. Remember we said that where the D kind of came right up into that area, and now it's going to be retesting this area again. Came right up to the wedge, to the pip, and pulled back. It's not done yet. I'll just see these RSIs come up and give a hook before I would take it short. I am looking to more take it short than take it long right now.
I'm gonna go check out the higher time frames real quick. So let's see what's going on.
We are getting some consolidation up here at the top.
Oh, you're still in a cell, Leslie? Where is your entry? Did you take it at the same time we did? Like I did earlier?
Al?
Yes.
Beach Panda said, took the USD CHF in a demo trade at 90550, going to hold it to the end of the day to see if it retraces. Comments. And then Leslie said, I noticed divergence on the 5-minute chart, so that is my hope. Ha ha ha. Because she held on to the earlier sell order at 90623.
Yeah, well, I'm still in that position myself. I'm still looking at probably taking it short again to help ease that pain a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I got out most of my positions. I had one that I left to, and I'll probably take another sell when it gets up into here. I still think it's ranging between. I go to
It's gonna have a really hard time getting through where it's coming through right now.
Yeah, it's going to have a hard time getting through this area up here. So that's why I'm looking at for it coming up here. And I think it's going to come back down. I think it's going to range. You see, it is actually making a little bit lower lows. So I mean, if you look at this last trend in the last since the 10th, which was 10th was what day was the 10th? That was 5 days ago, probably Thursday. It has been gradually sloping down. And so this is just another area where it's retesting this zone. And then I think it's going to have to take a lot to get through this. You've got.
I don't see it happening, Al. That trend line is too strong.
Yeah, so I think if it does break into this zone, it's going to have a hard time getting through this area. Would you agree with that, Matt?
Actually, I'm still in that cell also. I got in the same place that Beach Panda did, and I'm also hanging on to it, thinking we're going to go down.
Yeah, I mean, generally we're out of it by you put your 7 to 10 pip stop, and you're out of it. And I didn't do that, and I regret not doing that because that's part of the methodology that we do. But in the course of things, since we didn't, I don't want to sell it. I want to take another sell here to average my position to the middle, and then I'm still looking for this area to be tested later on.
No, you're not alone, Leslie. There's at least 3 of us that are still in this for the short.
So, All right. Well, with that, it's all I can say is good luck. Keep an eye on it. Don't let it get too far out of the way. Don't lose money that you can't afford to lose. And we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
that's
much.
Yeah.
Have a
All
good
right,
day,
catch you guys
everybody.
later, okay?